Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman, here as always, constantly, continuously with Tom. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it is time to post a podcast that people will click on and be very angry about. And then we'll post the opposite podcast later on. And then people will also be angry about that. Tony, it is the holidays. It is time for togetherness. It is time for family. It is time to get angry about college football.
I thought we were doing how Ohio State can win.
We are, yes.
Okay.
Well, good news. We're going to do a how Michigan can win later in the week.
There goes. Angry family dinners all around. Yes, we'll drop that like Thursday, like 4:30 for you guys to listen to all over with your family and get angry. Unless, of course, you are one of the many Michigan fans that follow us. And then, of course, you can play it over music.
You can be mad now.
You can be mad now.
Tony, did you know Ohio State hasn't beaten Michigan since 2019? There, I just saved everyone a comment. You can just say thank you, Tom, in the comments.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Thanks, Tom. So, Tom, let us discuss this, how Ohio State can beat Michigan. And there are many ways, but I guess in the current form of this Ohio State team and this Michigan team, I want to start with the running game, because we'll talk about the pass game. There's some questions there. The running game as it stands now, we've seen throughout the season where Michigan has been susceptible to the run for moments. It's rare that anybody runs on them for 3 quarters or 4 quarters. I'm not going to say Ohio State needs to outrush Michigan. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, that if they win, they will have outrushed them based on being up by enough points in the fourth quarter where you're just running the ball. But have you seen enough from Ohio State right now to be convinced that they can run the ball? Because to me, being able to run the ball enough plays into, they don't need to run the ball for 115 yards, something like that, where it's just you've occupied the run defense enough that they can't just focus on the passing game. So I think Ohio State needs to run the ball moderately. I don't think they need to put 240 yards on the ground.
No, I don't think Ohio State does not need to run the ball to win this game. They don't win. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Ohio State does not win this game by running the ball. Right. Ohio State has to run the ball enough, as you said. Ohio State has to run the ball enough that you don't have Michigan's pass rushers being able to, ready for your college football cliche of the day, pin their ears back, Tony. You can't let them pin their ears back and rush the passer. They have to keep Michigan honest. This is not an Ohio State team that's going to run the ball for 6 yards a carry against Michigan and put up 250 yards. If they do, spoiler alert, they're going to win the game. I certainly am not expecting that. That would be a big surprise. But they need to be able to run the ball enough. And it feels like the offensive line has come together enough. And the running back rotation has settled in enough. And they've found a little something with James People that we thought they were going to have at the beginning of the year, and then it just kind of wasn't there for a while, and then now it's kind of kicked back in. And C.J. Donaldson in short yardage, just been enough. I look at C.J. Donaldson a lot like I looked at Chip Trainum a couple of years ago when Ohio State was up there. And Ohio State had that one drive in the third quarter where it was like Chip Trainum, just boom, 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 right down the field. And it was like, wow, if they can do that all day, boy, they're going to win this game. And then they could not do that all game. But if they can just kind of have enough to be balanced, that probably is all they really need to do in the run game.
Yeah, just allow yourself to not be predictable. That being said, if all of the Ohio State receivers were healthy, I would have come into this game saying the same thing as I've said all year long. As long as you protect Julian Sayin, you will win. Now, still need to protect him, but I don't think you can be as reliant on the passing game as you could have before Jeremiah Smith gets dinged up, Carnell Tate gets dinged up. So you kind of have to adjust what you can do, especially when we've seen 2 games in a row now where Julian Sayin has not thrown for 200 yards. Now, they're not trying to, per se, but the idea that they can just sling it around, well, we need to see who's actually on the field. So I think that's important to remember. But if Jeremiah is out there, and I do expect him to be out there against Michigan, we'll see about Carnell Tate. I'm kind of expecting them both to play, but I'm more expecting Jeremiah to play. And if that happens again, protect Julian Sayin. But there's he's got an advantage over everybody that he's going to be facing. And so then you're going to have to double him, which then can Ohio State take advantage of that double team if it's not Carnell Tate on the other side?
Yeah, that's sort of the open question there, because Michigan's secondary, I think, is a concern for the Wolverines in this matchup. I think you look at the corners, Jair Hill, Zeke Berry, they've been okay, but they've gotten got a few times this season by wide receivers who are very much not Jeremiah Smith. The safety rotation has been, Rod Moore not playing against Maryland. I think that's a concern. Sharon Moore is a little, not the most forthright about injury. We're all day-to-day, Tony, in our own ways. Rod Moore just has not looked like Rod Moore this year when we've seen him. If he was, that would be a huge thing for Michigan. He hasn't been out there for weeks. He has not looked 100% at any point really this season. So that to me is a concern. Brandon Hillman as a safety is the tackling has not been great at long stretches. He is a real, he's like a Dave Kingman where, he is either going to hit it so far that it goes completely out of the stadium or he is going to swing and miss. And we have seen both of those from him this year.
For the Tigers fans, won't say Rob Deere instead.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll
a reference that they can understand
there you go.
better.
Yeah. So I think Ohio State has the opportunity to throw the ball if they can keep Julian Sain clean. And so much of that goes back to the run game, but also it goes back to how the tackle's going to hold up. And Michigan's defensive tackles aren't as amazing as they were the last year, but some of the edge rushers from Michigan are dangerous. How are Ohio State's tackles, and especially right tackle, going to hold up there?
Yeah, definitely. If you want to win, protect your quarterback. Must credit me for saying that. And if Ohio State does not have that second receiver that can make things happen, that second receiver may become Max Clare. And we've seen tight ends against Michigan have some success against the linebackers in coverage. So Max Clare's coming off of a 100-yard day. Would that be a huge shock, Tom, if he has another very good day against Michigan, just based on, whatever else they've got there? So protect the quarterback, and you would expect that Julian Sain can figure things out. Weather-wise, it just seems like it may be a little chilly and whatever. I don't think that's going to be much of a concern, even though I know Michigan fans are going to be talking about that. Ohio State fans are going to be talking about it. I don't think the weather is really going to play into this. Defensively, for Ohio State, in order to, what do they need to do to win the game? Well, tell me who's running the ball, because that's a huge thing. Jordan Marshall he has grown a lot this year. And he has gone from the guy that is carrying the ball after Justice Haynes gets tired from going 50 yards to now Jordan Marshall is the guy that is tired after carrying the ball 50 yards. So then it goes to Bryson Cusdahl, who is a former current walk-on. Based on what we saw last week from Jordan Marshall, it does not look like he's going to be anywhere near 100% this week. For Ryan Day and any coaches that you would talk to this week would still say, got to stop the run. And in this game, you can stop the run for 4 quarters or 3.85 quarters, Tom. But that last drive, so how does Ohio State win? Stop the run in the fourth quarter. Stop the run in the last 2 drives of the fourth quarter. If you just do that, the last couple of years.
Yeah, if Ohio State did that a couple of years ago, there would have been a different cover athlete on the first return of the EA Sports College Football video game. Yeah, if Ohio State can stop the run, that really puts Michigan. Michigan really has to play in a way that they don't want to have to play. Michigan wants to be able to run the ball. Bryson Cusdahl, credit to him. He has put together. He had a 100-yard game against Maryland. That's an impressive day. But he's also someone who really, we watch a lot of these games, and a couple weeks ago it was like, who is this again? Former walk-on, former 2-star. He was like the 90-something ranked player in the state of Michigan in 2023, I believe. He was, he's not someone who you look at and go, well, this is the guy who, boy, on the Michigan show, it's not going to be Bryson Cusdahl channel Tim Biakapatuga. That's not going to be the way Michigan wins this game. If they have Jordan Marshall playing, if he's healthy, and he left the Northwestern game, Northwestern game. looked like I think Joel Klatt on the broadcast said AC joint. I mean, it could have been whatever it was shoulder. It did not look like a good shoulder injury. We'll see if he's healthy. They're kind of saying, Sharon Moore is kind of putting a smiley face on it and saying, oh, it wasn't as bad as we thought, which sure, maybe we'll see. But yeah, whoever that running back is, if Ohio State can contain that run, and then you can put it on and continue the run, frankly, includes Bryce Underwood.
Oh,
I think that's this is one where I don't know that Ohio State's going to be rushing the passer as much as just, they talk about caging the opposing quarterback, keeping him in the pocket. Don't let him run, make him go through his progressions, make him find an open receiver or throw to a not open receiver. If Ohio State can control the run, including Bryce Underwood, boy, then, and they don't turn the ball over on offense, at that point, I almost wonder, how does Michigan win? Not that they can, not that this is a given, but
we're talking about how Ohio State's going to win.
If Ohio State can control the run, including Bryce Underwood, and Ohio State doesn't turn the ball over, paint me the picture where Michigan wins. I think that is a difficult picture to paint.
Couple of punt return touchdowns from Samaj Morgan.
Boy, putting the Michigan fans right now are going, for Ohio State fans, Michigan fans, I can't even come up with an Ohio State player who Ohio State fans feel about the way that Michigan fans feel about poor Samaj Morgan right now.
But caging Bryce Underwood and then that spy going and finally attacking him, be it Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, they will change it up on who they, get after him. And if you're forcing him to just continue to go through his progressions, how patient will he be before he wants to take off? Because, and how patient are they telling him to be? Because like, I think we said it, Tom, there's going to be so many times this week where we said, I don't know if I said it on this show or a previous show or when we were just talking, but at some point, like, how many reads are they wanting him to go through before they're like, just go ahead and take off? And then you also have to be aware of the spy. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of looking around for a true freshman to do. And so Ohio State, what do they need to do to win? Yes, contain that running game, contain the scrambles, because those are just killers. And then you got to start all over again. So then it comes down to the Matt Patricia defense changing the picture for Bryce Underwood as we get to how do you stop the Michigan passing game, change the picture. I don't think you need to get after him. You can throw some blitzes at him. He does not like to be blitzed.
Right.
And
who does?
And you can also kind of toy with them a little bit with the RPOs. We saw Northwestern doing that, where they'd fake coming up, kind of force him to fit. Then he would read I've got to throw, and they drop back. And one time they intercepted it. Another time they tipped it and didn't quite come down with it. But you're able to manipulate and kind of just make him very uncomfortable. Northwestern was able to do that, even though he had a very good first 3 quarters or so. Mm-hmm. But I think this one, Matt Patricia this is not a game a true freshman quarterback should excel in based on the defense and the scheme and things of that nature. I'm not saying he won't. I'm saying he shouldn't.
Well, this is a spot that's really not fair to put a true freshman quarterback in, because Matt Patricia, early in the season, when Ohio State was playing Texas, people's minds were blown at the amount of stuff that Ohio State was showing that they'd never shown before. And they're showing, they're showing one coverage and then post-snap doing something completely different. And they really haven't had to do a lot of that in the last about 10 games, because Ohio State has really not been pushed since the Texas game. Texas had the ball in Ohio State, not quite to Ohio State territory, but close to midfield, down by 7 points with like under 2 minutes left. That's the last time anyone has had the ball with a chance to tie or take the lead against Ohio State in the, I think, second half at all, period. But certainly in the fourth quarter, no one all season has had the ball in Ohio State territory with a chance to tie or take the lead in the fourth quarter. So this is a defense that has really not had to show a ton, because the offense has been good enough that the defense hasn't had to do much, and the defense has been good enough the offense hasn't had to do a whole lot. So now there's a whole bunch that's probably sitting on the shelf that they haven't had to really show. They've mixed stuff up some, but it hasn't been a ton. You're going to want to listen to the shows I do with Ross Fulton later in the week, talking about both the Ohio State offense and the Ohio State defense and sort of the matchups with Michigan there. but that's something that Ross talks about all the time, that they, that they have really not had to show a lot. So they have a lot that's still on the shelf, and a true freshman quarterback where he's going to be coming in, and best case scenario, it's probably 1 read, 2 read go. If you're changing the picture on him post snap, he may be thinking, okay, I know what I'm doing with this. And then the picture changes, and then that is no longer the right answer. You could very easily see this being a game where Ohio State forces 2-3 turnovers. And again, if you don't even need to do all of these things, run the ball, protect Julian Sayin, force 2 or 3 turnovers. I think pick 2 and they probably win the game.
Yeah, it's like an Applebee's menu. Just pick 2, enjoy. It doesn't cost too much. The forcing the turnovers is kind of the that's the wild card. The free, you automatically win if you do that. The pass defense, the threat. We talked about this in an earlier show this week about the concerns for Buckeye fans. One of them being freshman wide receiver Andrew Marsh. If he comes into this game, or he comes out of this game with like 6 catches for 60 yards, that's a win for Ohio State. You want to limit him to as low a yard per catch as you can. And if there's volume, but no yardage to it, then again, you'll take that and you'll be happy to do that. I think what you necessarily can't do is just give him 10 yards. Like, you're going to have to press him a little bit and like make him earn these catches. He is just a freshman. You got junior and a senior quarterback. So they're not going to be afraid of him, but if you keep him in check, there's really outside of the not unforeseen, but like Donovan McCulley going for like 8 for 130 is not something you would expect. And so you can't even be like, well, be careful of that happening. It shouldn't. So if you can lock down and keep Andrew Marsh to 10, 11 yards a catch, I think that's part of the avenue towards winning as well.
For sure. Just don't let the 12 or 14 yard catch turn into a 60-yard catch. That's, I think he had a long one against USC. He had a long catch, where it was not a bomb. It was just a relatively, intermediate range pass where he can turn on the jets and go. Just got to keep him in front of you. And we have seen increasingly Bryce Underwood making some impressive downfield throws, especially to Marsh, and hitting some tight windows, but it's not super consistent yet. And if you give up one of those, you're not going to lose the game on one of those. You're probably going to be okay with challenging him to do that consistently, because that's going to be a challenge against this Ohio State secondary, to be able to hit those narrow windows, those downfield shots, sideline throws consistently. That's something we really haven't seen from Michigan at all. And over the last few years, you're seeing it more now. You're seeing it increasingly now, but it's also not incredibly consistent. And as often as he makes those great throws, he'll throw one that it's like, I don't even know who the intended receiver was on that one.
The intended receiver is Donovan McCulley, because we've talked on several Michigan Monday shows about their connection just has been so inconsistent this year, where there may be 8 targets and there's 3 catches for Donovan McCulley, and it's just not there yet. Maybe it gets there for Ohio State. Anything can happen. I mean, yes, they could throw and catch together. No concerns there. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Special teams, Tom, does it feel like Ohio State has the advantage special teams wise in this game? Dare I say that? Because we've seen Dominic Zavada, Michigan's kicker, miss some kicks. He could very well kick a 60-yarder to beat Ohio State. He's got the leg. He's done it before. He's won game. He beat Ohio State last year with a field goal, so he's done that before. The return game for Michigan, nothing to write home about. The return game for Ohio State, nothing to write home about, unless they, pull out a once every 15-year kickoff return for a touchdown. Jaden Fielding's pretty consistent. The punting game is, for both teams, it's like,
yeah.
So I think just don't lose the special teams battle is, I guess, my largest message here for Ohio State is going to win. Don't lose something that you're not disadvantaged at.
Yeah, and they're not disadvantaged at special teams, because you said they're not anything to write home about. In SP Plus, Ohio State 39th in special teams. I don't think the current week has run yet, but 39th in special teams. Michigan 118th. And a lot of that is Dominic Zavada has been really inconsistent this year, which is bizarre because he was like automatic a year ago. As you said, he missed a couple at Northwestern. One of them was a 60-yarder that he had the leg for but missed wide. But he missed one against Maryland. He missed two against Northwestern. He's just been kind of all over the place. I wouldn't be shocked if we found out after the season, oh, he's had a little bit of a nagging injury all season that he's just sort of been playing through. We found that out about Jaden Fielding last year. Jaden Fielding, of course, missed a couple field goals against Michigan. So if your kicker can just hit his field goals, that is going to be a big difference. As you said, the punting has been Joe McGuire for Ohio State has been fine. Hudson Hollenbach for Michigan has been fine. Neither has been particularly consistent. It's just kind of been okay. But yeah, if Ohio State, if the special teams battle is a complete wash, Ohio State probably goes, yeah, fine, that's fine. You can win somewhere else.
Yes, and make your field goals, I guess.
Yeah, would be
the last thing.
Yeah, make your field goals, sure.
But so there you go. That's how Ohio State wins. Very simple,
Mm-hmm.
very easy. I don't know why they don't do it more often. It's not my fault. But if you could, and again, we've got a bunch of shows coming for you, as you guys have found out and you're seeing. So just go ahead and hit the thumbs up, hit the bell to be notified, subscribe to the channel if you've not yet done so, and check out both of the podcast feeds, Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning, Buckeye Weekly Podcast. Subscribe to those if you have not. I'm sure you have. A ton of listening pleasure for you about this game, which is fast approaching. So that will do it for us. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will talk to you all later.